Welcome to Build Your Thing, the podcast where we help content creators find their unique creative voice, monetize their work, and build their tribe of loyal fans. I'm your host, Matt Giaro, and today's episode is a special one. Because here is the truth. A lot of people get stuck when it comes to picking their niche. They struggle and they wonder how they can stand out. And you know what? That's completely normal because 50% of the job is actually understanding what you don't want to do so that you can find out who you are going to be. And on today's call, I'm happy to welcome Janis Ozolins, a creator that you probably already know if you are on Twitter. So he's well known for his outstanding visuals, and he has also been working with big names in the creator industry like Matt D'Avella. So I wanted to pick his brain. I wanted to reverse engineer how he actually found his voice and actually the roadblocks that he faced. So you're going to see that this episode is going to be epic and there are going to be a lot of nuggets dropped as usual in Build Your Thing. So without any further, let's jump right into it. All right, Janis, welcome to the show.
Hello, Matt. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. So, Janis, like as I told you before, just hitting the red record button, I just went through a podcast interview that you've done recently, where you actually mentioned that you read or you came across like this kind of statement where 50% of the job is actually finding out what you want to do or what you don't want to do. So I thought it would be interesting to first talk about this. But before that, can you introduce quickly yourselves to the audience?
Yeah, sure. My name is Janis, and most people know me online by doing these like visuals. I try to explain ideas visually. That's how I kind of got some following, and that's how my kind of creative career accelerated. But yeah, now I'm a full-time creator. Previously, I was like working a long time in IT and whatnot. And but yeah, last year, full-time creative, mostly creating visuals and just creating content, talking with cool people like you. And yeah, that's my thing right now, which is really cool. And kind of going back to your question, which you asked previously about the 50% of the work is figuring out what the hell you want to do. Yeah, that's something. I think there was a quote in regards to this. I don't remember who said it or whatnot, but that's something I think which is very important that content creators should keep in mind. Because like in my case, around 5 years ago, I got the desire, to make a living online, to become a content creator. I had this new dream back then, and since then it was around 4 years. 4 years I was trying different things. I was experimenting. I was failing. I was learning. And I was going nowhere, in terms of like revenue or audience. I was at point zero, but I was running a lot of these different experiments. And I think along the way, I stumbled upon on that quote, and I found it very true. And especially I found it very true when I, like 1.5 years ago, when I stumbled into the visual creation and kind of my creative career started to accelerate it. I really thought to myself that it's so true that, and I think it's important that aspiring content creators understand this, that like 50% of the battle is kind of to figure out what the hell do you want to do. Because I think there are loads of people who just think to themselves, I'm not creative, or I'm not good at this, or I can't find my thing, I can't find my niche. And true, it's very, very hard, I think. But when you realize that, okay, this is like 50% of the battle, I will spend loads of time trying, experimenting, and finding not my thing until I will stumble upon into thing that is my thing, yeah, I think it's just a good reminder to have, especially if you're struggling to find what you want to do, because it was true in my case, and I've heard stories over and over again where people like crash into walls and are not able to find their thing, and after a couple of years, boom, here it is, some mystical niche has appeared, and they are doing their thing. So yeah, that's a long answer, but that's kind of my realization during this journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, can we go back a little bit in time? So, 5 years ago, um, like how did you stumble across like this make the or build a business online stuff? What is like? Um, well, I just want to build a business online, or was it clear since the beginning you want to be a creator, or did you try some different
Hmm.
other business models? I don't know, like e-commerce,
Hmm.
affiliate marketing, this kind of stuff. Can you walk us a little bit
Okay.
more? Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely share that story in like a couple of bullet points. So at the point I was working in IT, and I was kind of, the job was good, everything was fine, life is very comfortable, everything is great. And I remember one guy from like my colleague said, "Hey Janis, do you want to go to this college, which is, and learn business psychology?" I was like, I feel kind of stuck, and a lot of routine. I said like, okay, whatever, let's go. A bit of psychology, a bit of business, sounds useful, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do or direction where I want to take my life. And I went to that school, and I ditched it after 1 year. But during that college or school or whatever whatever it's called, there was one subject, which basically the goal was that, hey guys, like after 1 week you will need to come in front of the class and you will need to present a business idea. And I remember there happened some weird switch inside of me, because I've always been this like idea guy and I want to be entrepreneur, but very like talker, not a doer. Oh yeah, I have a lot of business ideas, and then I have find like five excuses why not to do it. And I remember when we got that assignment, I had this realization or feeling, Giannis, you will figure out a business idea that you can like start right away with your 9 to 5 job. You will not have any excuses. Figure out something that you can actually start. And then I just went on the internet and I started to search, and what I could do. And I thought, okay, it should be maybe something online, because I know a bit of computers. So then I just started to digging, and I stumbled upon some YouTube videos, all the headlines, make $1 million online, whatever, whatever, with affiliate marketing and whatnot. So I got very curious about it, and I remember I really went into rabbit hole, and then I created some business plan. It was something about Pinterest, like complete garbage. Of course that didn't happen, but there was this new avenue opened up for me, that I was very, very curious to figure out, okay, what is this online business, what you can do there. I still, back then I didn't know anything about like creators and stuff. But yeah, I just went into this rabbit hole, and I really researched a lot and looked for the opportunities. And then I remember I stumbled upon the 4 Hour Work Week, the book, which probably a lot of people have have read. And I remember that at that point I didn't read books. I was like, "Huh, I don't read books, so whatever. It's a very compelling title, sounds very interesting, but whatever. I don't read books." And then a couple of like weeks later, I remember I was listening to some YouTube interview or whatever, and the guys on that podcast or interview was kind of listing their top favorite apps, and one of them mentioned Audible. He was like, "Oh yeah, I love to fly and listen to audiobooks." I was like, "Holy shit, you can listen to books! Wow, that sounds dope." so so yeah, since then I downloaded Audible. I got the 4 Hour Work Week, and I still remember to this day. I was standing in my living room. I was around like 2 hours into the 4 Hour Work Week, and I was like saying to myself, like, "Holy shit, Giannis, you've been such an idiot." And at that point, I was like the dude who was thought like, I got life, I'm pretty smart, I know things. And I realized like how much information is out there, how much I don't know, how much I have to learn. And since then I became a complete self-development nerd. Listen to books. And yeah, that's kind of the how it all started. Like after that, loads of books, loads of experiments, whatnot. But that was the initial. That's how the new desire got created in me. And yeah, now we are here, like 5 years later.
That's pretty interesting. And like, can you walk us a little bit through like your journey of actually looking for what you want to do? Because like you started with this kind of quote unquote altered Pinterest idea. So what were the next steps? So you just started consuming a lot of content. You just started seeing that there is like a whole new world that you just discovered. So walk us a little bit like the 4 years of struggle. Because what I like to do is like once you're successful, it's easy to talk about your success, But most people, they really bury their failures, and they don't really talk about, everything that happens before that, that post went viral, or before that, they just make like all these sales. So walk us a little bit behind the curtain.
Okay. Yeah, like I wouldn't call those too much of a failures. It's really those are just learning lessons and experiments. But I think one common thing which I did back then, I got very obsessed about all this creative space and building websites and whatnot and creating your about pages. I did a lot of nice to have things which felt good, which felt interesting. It was fun doing them, but of course they didn't bring any benefit. I was not solving any sort of problems and whatnot. So yeah, I remember it's hard to reflect on all the things I did, but I remember I tried a bit of blogging. I remember I had some domains. One of the domain I remember I had was this learninseconds.com, and then I created some sort of journal where you can like scan QR codes and it shows some motivational videos from my favorite self-development people. I remember I was a huge fan later down the line of Matt Diavella, the like YouTuber who makes extremely high quality YouTube videos and is a like minimalist online. I remember then I just decided, okay, I could do YouTube. It sounds very fun. And I remember like of course, did again all the wrong things, like bought expensive equipment, filmed like 5 YouTube videos, extremely cringy, very high quality, but extremely cringy. Please don't look them up. and and yeah, I understood that YouTube is not like sustainable for me at that time when I had like 9 to 5, and it felt like I really enjoyed making YouTube videos, but not on regular basis. It would be interesting for me, to make once in a while some cool, interesting video, with a nice story that could be interesting, but not on a regular basis. So I quit YouTube. I remember I tried some super short podcast episodes as well, but again, that was extremely cringy because like English is not my native language, and now that's the reason. I try to talk a lot on the podcast, and I have like my own podcast with Alex Yui, another guy, and I'm kind of using that as a vehicle to get better with my speaking and whatnot. So that's a bit off topic, but yeah, there was just loads different products, different things I tried, but I never took it really seriously. It was mostly doing things that was fun for me. It was just play, and I didn't expect any immediate results. I didn't had the need to make money because I was like doing my 9 to 5, and I was just experimenting and running into walls and doing what was fun for me. And that's about it, and kind of how I got into the visuals. I remember like first trigger for me was probably people have read like either James Clear's book Atomic Habits or read at least his blog posts. And if you remember, he sometimes in his blog posts add the visuals in just to explain some sort of concepts. And that was the first time when I got the feeling that you can actually like communicate a full-on idea with a visual, regardless. Like he placed it in a blog post, and to me visuals always felt like a complementary thing, and he did it as a complementary thing as well, but still he was able to communicate an interesting concepts just with visuals, with some charts and whatnot. And that was the first time it kind of triggered the interest that I could maybe do like visuals, because in general I was like writing came really hard for me. I felt really like this idea guy. I love to learn. I love to connect the dots. I love to brainstorm. So that was like, these visuals look interesting. So, and then I started to experiment with something. Still, I created some like fake, I think not my personal account, which I have now on Twitter and Instagram, but I ran some experiments. And then like the second trigger for the visuals was Jack Butcher, because he was like already making it full time as this artist, as a person online, building his brand, building visualized value. And he was the first person who proved me that, okay, there's actually a market for this. It can be a full on thing if visuals is your like main medium. And that was the second like big punch in the face that, okay, there is something to it. If you enjoy it, lean in, keep at it. Maybe it will work out. And yeah, I just kept continuing. Then back then my style was more similar, like to visualize value, because of course we see something we like and then we kind of imitate and do something similar. And the three And the third like big moment for me was when I found the work by Liz and Molly. They are like as well creating very interesting visualizations online, but they're niche and they are mostly talking about like feelings at work. A lot of feelings that people feel in their 9 to 5. And at that time I was reading a lot of like parenting books as well. And one of the concepts they talk about in parenting books is you need to acknowledge people's feelings in order for them to listen. You need to acknowledge kids' feelings in order for them to listen. And that was something similar that kind of Liz and Molly did online as well. And then I kind of connected these dots that it's very interesting because most visuals, like Jack Butcher's visuals and whatnot, mostly is about like value concepts, those sort of ideas. And I got this idea and aspiration to, I had this big baggage of creative struggles for 4 years. Maybe I could talk more about like creativity and creative struggles and, with my visuals, acknowledge other creators' feelings and so on. And that was a very like big pivotal moment for me. And at that time as well, I really committed. I remember I was like, okay, Janis, you did 4 years of experiments and whatnot. You never was really serious about it. There is something here. I really committed to it. I remember I was having a bet with one of my friends that I will send him €1 every day if I don't publish a visual. Plus we had some like exercises. He needed to do some just regular exercises, some push-ups and whatnot, and I needed to do some push-ups and whatnot. And I said like, I need to do a visual a day as well. If not, I'm sending you this €1. And we had this back and forward game since then. And yeah, I really committed. I leaned it, was consistent, and that kind of started some initial growth. And yeah, when momentum kicks in, it's a bit easier to keep going. And yeah, that's kind of history. It was a very long answer, but I hope it gave some sort of perspective from where I'm coming from and what was my
Of course. I mean, this was like actually intended that that you dig a little bit deeper into that. So you just started connecting the dots. You actually, like, if we can try to put this in a framework, is really just try to see where your curiosity leads you, and then just see like the things that you actually resonate with, and then just try to combine different things. So like once you actually understood that, you could represent an idea into like a visual and turn an idea into something, like just explain it into in a thumbnail. How do you actually find your quote unquote your way of doing things and not being like a lousy copy? Because like the creative process is like that. Like you're just like trying to emulate what others are doing. And how did you actually start finding your unique thing? Was it by actually continuing doing research about what others are doing and try to combine different fields, or was it just like, okay, now I have my thing, and I'm just going to try and experiment, maybe change the colors, or like go down that rabbit hole by myself?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I don't think it has like super clear answer to it. But of course, at the beginning, it mostly starts by I think David Perel has this line, imitate then innovate, and I really resonate with that. And of course, at the beginning, you are more like when you are a minimalist, when you want to go into like visual design, and when you discover work by Jack Butcher and see how well it does, you're like, oh my God, this is perfection. And it's so hard to go away from it and figure out something completely unique. But I remembered, okay, how I could differentiate myself from Jack Butcher. And then I remembered, okay, pixels will be my thing, Then I started to create like very pixely type of visuals, just kind of to differentiate myself. I never wanted to came across as a like copycat or something like that. So that was very, very important for me. But at this stage, I would really say that a lot of people, I think, are paralyzed by this thought that you need to be extremely, extremely original, and especially when it like comes to visuals, because how I look at visuals is like, to me, it's almost like another language. I can appreciate beautiful art, but to me, the stuff I'm doing, it's like I'm trying to explain ideas visually. Like 80% of the things I do is just obsessing about like the concept and figuring out how I can deliver this message, evoke this emotion from you, whatever it is, in the least amount of possible. And design is very secondary. It's okay. It's nice when you can package things in a pretty nice way, but it's definitely not that important. Look what, for example, Wait But Why is doing, Tim Urban. It's just,
Mhm.
in some sense, very ugly, very basic, very turtle art type of visuals. But he's focusing on the ideas, and he doesn't give an ash about like the visual aesthetics to it. So that's just an important point to remember, that you don't need to, I think, have this elaborate style and whatnot in order to start kind of doing this. And yeah, I think, of course, like I got some inspirations from like Liz and Molly. I remembered I really liked that they were kind of drawing outside the lines, and I thought, and then their visuals was kind of imperfect, and I was like, this is a very interesting way. I could as well make my visuals imperfect in a sense that all the lines are a bit squiggly and like the colors go outside the lines, because I really struggle with perfectionism, and that was kind of my tool of dealing with perfectionism. But because when you have an imperfect style, it's kind of perfect in a sense, because if I'm
Mhm.
trying to make something more like Jack Butcher, where everything is like super aligned and everything is like triangles and whatnot, everything is perfect, then perfectionism really kicks in. But when the style intentionally is a bit raw and a bit messy, it's kind of perfect in a sense. So that was kind of how I justified my style in terms of dealing with my perfectionism. So it's not only about just picking something and going with it, but really listen to your traits, your flaws, and try to kind of use them to figure out your values and whatnot, and just kind of mush that all together. Understand what's important to you. Is like adding shadows to your visuals important for you? Why it's important? Or you're just, to me, I'm obsessed about this explaining ideas visually and being as clear and as fast as possible. And that's kind of goes into my style as well. So it's important to listen to your values and kind of evaluate that. But yeah, it's a messy process, and it's definitely a process. I think I have several threads where I kind of explain my visual process and evolution, and you can see like how I have changed over time. I have changed tools and whatnot. So it's important to remember that you can iterate, you can improve, but if you at the core keep the ideas, I'm explaining ideas visually. I'm just like sharing my story. I'm explaining ideas visually, and my style can change over time, and that's completely fine. I can bring up old ideas and package them into my new style, and it's like more content for me. So there's really no like downside to it, and that's how I kind of approached it. Yeah.
I mean, this makes a lot of sense, and there is an interesting idea. Is actually when you're just looking for, trying to find your voice, just try to find your imperfections and beat on them, like rather than bet on them, sorry, rather than try to beat them, which means that, well, you just like, I found this very interesting with the perfectionism that you just mentioned. So, well, a perfectionist will try to make his visual perfect, right? Or he will try to make his text perfect. Well, what if you just start betting on the things that you are like the opposite of, or what you want to be, and then just try where it leads. So this is a very interesting idea.
Yeah, it's definitely a good, I think, concept to remember. Like, really think about, if you're like perfectionist, what would be like kind of the opposite, and really, if you can manage to own it, then it's really nice. Just imagine if you want to start explaining ideas visually, and you'll say, I really like what Tim Urban is doing. Completely childish drawings. I'll have a complete like monkey style as well. And I will
Mm,
own it. And I think that's very liberating, because you can just go with it, and all your like imperfections and flaws, and it can be messy. You can do almost like some meme type of things, and it'll be
yeah.
great. Maybe the downside for it, if you would go into like explaining ideas visually field, would be that you'd probably not get that much like freelance opportunities, because people really want for things to look rather decent. That would be the downside. But in terms of communicating concepts, go ahead, like it will totally work, because it doesn't matter how pretty in a sense it looks.
If you enjoyed this episode so far, can I ask you for a quick favor that will not take more than 10 seconds out of your valuable time? If you're an iPhone user, please head over to iTunes. I've just included a direct link to the podcast so that you don't have to search for it. Simply click the link and just tap and give this show a 5-star review. This will help me get more exposure so that I can feature and convince more guests to come on the show to share more valuable knowledge with us. And if you're on YouTube, simply hit the like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And now let's go back. Yeah, true. And you know what this reminds me? It reminds me a copywriting concept. So this was first quoted by Barry Maher, who was like who's actually a sales guy. He like came up with this concept of making the skeleton dance, which means that if you are in a sale or you just want to sell something and you know that there is a flaw, instead of trying to hide the skeleton, like you have like a dead person, you just want to hide it. No, just tell them, well, there is a skeleton and there is an issue, but you just flip it around. And let's say when it comes to selling your course, maybe the skeleton may be, well, my course is short, or my course is I don't know what. Well, then you don't wait to get complaints. Like in your what you're going to do in your marketing and in your sales page, or like in your promotions, you're going to say, well, yes, this course is short and here's why. Same things go for your, let's say for your visuals, an example, the perfection. Yes, sometimes like they are not perfect, but here is why. It's because I'm more focusing on you getting the big idea, improving your life or whatever, rather than just try to align everything and make everything perfect. So this is I guess like this is an idea that we can really like go deeper into. But yeah, just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and I just another idea popped into my mind. If somebody is like trying to develop their style or whatnot, I think another very important aspect is that at the beginning, for sure, you'll be very much in this imitate mode, that you will like see whatever my visuals, other visuals, like, oh yeah, this looks so good. I want to make something super similar. And okay, that is awesome. That is great. You have your big inspiration, but at some point, you really need to like unfollow all these like almost visual creators and seek the inspiration from various different places. And it's very interesting that you kind of grab the general concept, okay, I want to explain ideas visually, what new I could bring to the market, and then go just seek inspiration, whatever, from UX design, from bloggers, from some just go crazy, go all over the place, but try to seek that inspiration from different places. Just you have the initial concept, but then don't get too inspired from all the artists that are completely around you, because then you might imitate too much, and it might not feel that original in a sense. I might be wrong here, but just saying that it's very important to seek inspiration and grab it from various different places which are completely outside your like niche and unrelated, and then you just kind of bring it all together in your field.
Yeah, that's totally true. And even this is like something that I say every time for people like who want to think and to become thought leaders in their in their industries, is that whether you acknowledge it or not, you are consuming content, and your brain is storing all the bits of information that you're gathering every day. And may it be on a conscious or an unconscious level, the content that you're going to create is just a byproduct of what you consume. So if let's say you're just like, let's say I want to create visuals and I'm going to follow every person on Twitter who's making visuals, well, at the end, I'm just going to be a byproduct of what I've consumed. But if let's say I change my feed and just start following people, let's say who make graffitis, or people who make other kind of visuals, and even like go very crazy about it, and I don't know, like completely like follow people who are unrelated to design, well, then this is when my brain would just start connecting the dots, but not the dots that everyone already saw, but new dots. And this is actually where you come up with great ideas. And this is why like one of the things that I tell people, like every time people are obsessed, but how can I find my niche, how I can find this, how I can find that. Well, the first step is just to stop listening to the people who are already very close to the things you want to do.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I completely agree with this. It's very important to go all over the place.
Yeah. So, So, can you walk us a little bit through, the monetization process? So, you just started created visuals. You start posting them on social media, and like, what did the journey look like from this point?
Hmm. Yeah, kind of the going full time as a creative to me was basically, let's say, if we like my commitment, my big commitment to go on like daily with visuals and try to take this as serious as possible happened around, I think, in November, in year 2000, to 2020, I think, whatever, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, and basically in November I started, and I remember I quit my job at end of April next year, so around like half in around 6 months. But the reason kind of I left my job was there was couple of aspects. Like first thing, like with the COVID and everything else, most of the time we stayed home. Like it was easier kind of for us at least to save up money. So we had a quite good backlog of like savings, and if we would go without job, we would be fine for around 1.5 years, so there was this quite big buffer for me to pull the plug, and kind of just sat down with my wife, and we talked about it, and said, okay, whatever, let's do this, let's see how it goes, because there was some momentum. I felt, okay, audience is consistently growing. I started to get some opportunities for some freelance gigs. It didn't mean I took them on, but just people were asking for it, and that was kind of okay. Another there is something to it, and that kind of was the reason I pulled the plug. So, but still, with like support of government and whatnot, the idea was not to go on like change my 9 to 5 to freelance, but it was like enough momentum, enough savings, enough support kind of from the government to pull the plug and see where it leads. So yeah, in April I kind of pulled the plug. Since then, like I've taken on several like freelance gigs, very managed to work with quite cool people. So that of course brought in some sort of income, and later down the line, like quite a lot of people were asking me, hey Janis, how do you do this, can you teach me, whatnot. And I had the idea that okay, I could create probably a course at some point on time, but at one moment there was like not like so much, but still like 10-15 people asking you specifically like, do you have a course or something like that. That was enough validation for me, okay, suck it up and make it a course. It seems that there is some sort of opportunity. So I think, yeah, when I committed at November, next year in November, I think I released the pre-sale of my course, and on December it went live. Um, yeah, and it's been a blast. It's been a nice income stream for that. It's not like crazy, but it covers the expenses, and it's very nice to now to earn money from product which is like scalable and not rely too much on freelance gigs. So that's kind of the journey. Was like there was some sort of momentum, there was some savings, there was some opportunities for freelance, and that kind of was the reason I pulled the plug. So it was quite, I would say, safe bet. It wasn't like YOLO going, like fuck it, let's go, let's go all
Yeah.
in. It was quite calculated move, I would say.
Okay, that makes sense. So, how did you actually manage to get from trying to find your style into getting first people reaching out to you and giving you these freelance opportunities? So, did it came back to just publishing a visual every day? Did it came back to
Hmm.
other maybe growth tactics? Can you
there's
explain
there's
a little bit?
definitely not there's definitely no really growth hacks or some weird hacky type of things I did. It was mostly being consistent with my visuals and trying to do my best work at that time. But there is one crucial aspect actually that kind of accelerated, I think, my creative career as well. Because like since I started, I was all by myself. I didn't have any friends who was doing something like this. I didn't reach out to anybody online. I was just lone wolf doing my thing, having fun and just observing all these famous YouTubers and self-development gurus and whatnot. And I remember that, I think late, yeah, if I started that November, December, at around that time, I decided, I think Jack Butcher announced that you can join his community. And I decided, okay, I could join his Slack community and see where it goes. And I remember that I joined, and it wasn't like I learned anything from it, or doesn't matter. But the big switch which happened was, like, I was seeing people like me. He's just same as I am, trying to figure this out, and it was so liberating to talk to people, to peers who are trying to do something similar. And that was a huge, like, mindset shift. And I remember then they're just like, one connection happened there. I started to comment on other feeds on Twitter. I try to be, like, generous and follow along their journeys and kind of support. So, and that, of course, one person joins there, one there, and then somebody comments on your visuals, and you reach out, and maybe you become friends. And it was a very slow, very human process, where in the middle I just tried to publish my visuals a day, which kind of draw some more attention, because people reshare. But it was very slow, kind of steady growth. But yeah, that human aspect, joining the community, finding similar like-minded people, was extremely liberating, in terms of, I really felt like there are more people like me, and I didn't felt that, I guess, alone with my dreams and aspirations. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's really like, like you just try to, keep pushing the snowball until it become bigger and bigger. And then, well, like the interesting part is, I think that you have been publishing these visuals daily. So every day you're doing this, and then at the end, like, what's interesting is, like, people just reach out to you and tell you, well, can you teach me how you do it? And this is, I think, something very interesting that everyone can really take from this, is that um, just practice what you want to be recognized for, and then, like, the opportunity will just like, open up in front of you. So may it be via freelancing, via maybe coaching, via maybe creating a course or something like this. And, like, the other interesting thing is that you actually didn't start with, well, I'm going to create an online course about how to create visuals. It's like I like create visuals, I'm going to do them for myself, and then just see where it leads me, and just listen to the market feedback. And yeah, like, then you just created the course, and then many people get it backwards. So they have a course idea, they release their course, and then they say, well, nothing really happens. So this is, I think, quite of an interesting take.
Yeah, I think you hit really nail on the head, or or what the saying is, with this. It's so true. It's so true that I think, like, I have not reached out to any freelance gigs. All the freelance gigs has came to me from a direct message on Twitter or on Instagram, like 80% from Twitter, because I took it more seriously that early on. And I think Twitter is really full with business people who are looking to hire talent on there. So yeah, I think it's just very important to, and that was one thing which I remembered. I think a lot of people on Twitter is being, it depends on your intentions, of course, but a lot of people, it feels like they are too much noise and not enough, like, signal, meaning they're posting loads of trash, and it's really hard. When you imagine, let's imagine, you are Naval, and you are looking for some sort of, person, and if he clicks on your profile and scrolls through your profile, does he see, like, loads of, like, retweets and very messy feed, or he can see, okay, this dude, like, I see what he does, seems that he's, like, getting solid, like, engagement, people are appreciating this, and so on, like, sounds good, and that's usually, because that was one of the things I kept in mind. I didn't, like, retweet loads of stuff. I really tried to make my feed look good, that I kind of stand out, okay, this, if I will follow Janis, he will not waste my time. He will publish visuals that looks, like, cool, interesting, thought-provoking, And that's, I think, a nice mindset to adapt if you want to attract like opportunities and stuff. Like, I might be wrong with this because there's a lot of people who kind of disagree, who just, throw macaroni at the wall and see what sticks. And I think that's more important maybe at the beginning. But when you have a clear, more or less clear, like understanding of what are you doing, try maybe to focus 80% of the time and try to craft this so people, when they find you, they get the understanding of what you are kind of trying to make and signal them.
Yeah, it's really
sure.
like having like this, this kind of theme where people, like, when they go on your profile, it's like a CV, right? They just see what you are actually talking about, and it's not like one time you're talking about gardening and the other time you're going about weight loss and the other time you're talking about copywriting. It's really like having like a like something that they know when they are going to follow. They even maybe don't need to read your bio. They just scroll through your feed and then just see, well, okay, this guy is known for that, and I'm just going to follow him.
And I bet there is, like, you probably have some people, for example, if somebody asks you, or if somebody asks, like, hey, like, Janis, do you know who, like, I want to be creative and so on, do you know like a podcast I could listen? Oh yeah, I know this Matt guy. He actually do like a lot of short episodes and a couple of interviews with creative people. That's the guy. Go check him out. Hey, Janis, do you have any like marketing advice, like marketing examples? Harry Dry, he's like amazing, just the most amazing blog in the world on marketing, I think, marketingexamples.com. Go there. So just remember that you're not only trying to impress people that you want to work for, but your peers will like promote you because you signal this clear message of who you are and what you stand for. So yeah, that's a good reminder, I think, to keep in mind.
Yeah. It's all about clarity and focus. And like, another question that pops in my mind is, when it came to actually go bold on the visuals, did you kind of gauge the marketing interest? Like, well, people are really engaging with marketing with visuals, or was it just like, well, I like to do it, so I'm going to do it, and then I just going to see what will happen?
I would say it was 70% of I really like to do it. This is really fun. This is really sustainable. I absolutely love it. And 30%, holy shit, this actually like resonates, and it's very motivating that it resonates with people, and it gets like a lot of like impressions and likes and retweets and all that stuff. It of course is nice, and it's like an extra validator. But 70-80%, it definitely is intrinsically, I really love this stuff. It's absolutely play for me. I research, I learn, and I just try to like connect the dots and make something out of it. So it's really, really fun for me, and that's the primary thing.
That's great. And another thing that I wanted to tackle is, you just mentioned this, I guess, at the beginning of the episode, when you talked about, doing less of what makes you feel good and doing actually more of things that actually move the needle. Can you hone in on that a little bit?
Yeah, how I like to call it, and how I usually say that, you need to stop justify your own bullshit. Meaning, I think a lot of people really, they know that they are not moving the needle with this, and this is kind of fun, nice procrastination and so on, but that will probably not bring bread on the table. So yeah, that's kind of, I like to call it like, stop justifying your own bullshit. And I think it's fine to do those things. It's fine to procrastinate by updating your about page on the website. All of those things are completely okay. But I think you need to have this, at least, some sort of understand what is those. Maybe it's a bit harder early on when you really are like, don't know what's your thing and what not. I think then when you really don't know what is your thing or what not, then you really need to double down, I think, on experimentation, iteration, and trying to build a network and reach out to people and ask and be bold, because Twitter is super responsive. Like, I pretty much answer everybody who reaches out to me, unless you're just like scamming or just asking how is my day without anything else, then I know it will lead probably to something sketchy. But yeah, then double down on those things. But when you are kind of gaining some momentum and you have, okay, for example, for me, posting visuals online, that's like my key needle mover. If I do that, my audience grows. Some part of that audience becomes friends, some part of that audience will become my customers. That's like my main needle mover. So I can't justify updating my website for 2 weeks and doing completely random things which doesn't move really the needle. I need to find the time, and I need to prioritize like shipping my work, and yeah, because I know that. And of course, yeah, the remaining time, sure, do random things. Allow yourself. It should be fun. It shouldn't feel like a drag all the time. But yeah, that's how I think about it. I hope it's
Interesting. And
somewhat helpful.
yeah, so you just mentioned, sorry, the iteration process. Can you, like, do you have like any specific process in place, or do you have like any warning signals that tell you, well, right now, like, I may be on the wrong path, and I just have to, iterate and then just change things.
Mm. It's yeah, I'm definitely not that much of a, no, I wouldn't say that, but I think I'm quite a lot of gut feeling type of guy, and I will, like, I don't know, ship something, or I'll do a promotional launch or whatever, and then I understand, okay, maybe how come like the results maybe it was not where expected. Seems that maybe it was too salesy or whatnot, and then you kind of just take that information and maybe take it further, or you post a visual and you say, okay, this didn't get any engagement, I will not change my whole strategy, but then, okay, like what's the thing here, and then I ask my wife or whatever, like, how do you see this, is it clear? And she's like, no, it's not clicking to me. And then I'm like, I probably should like bounce this idea to her, before I publish. But it's completely fine, But then I take that information and I move on with it. Okay, I remember then. Okay, be clear, be to the point. Make sure you're clear. Make sure you're not too clever. And it's very gut feeling, very much like. And I think it's not only about like results in terms of engagement and likes and whatnot, but for example, I will evaluate how I feel. Now I'm trying to kind of move away. By the end of this year, I would probably like to be off freelance completely and be full on like earning from products, and maybe consulting, because that is a bit like low effort. And yeah, I'm just kind of listening. Okay, yeah, freelance actually sometimes feels a bit too much of a work, and I'm not enjoying it that much. I would really like to do more of my own stuff. So okay, how I can get there? I need to move away from this. Let's maybe figure out some other products I could build, or maybe, yeah, let's introduce consulting, because then I can just hop on a call, earn money for whatever, 1 hour talk, and that's it. The deal is closed. So that's kind of how I go about this. It's just you evaluate your feelings, the results, and just reflect on them. There's not like super strict process to it, but there's this constant reminder of like iterating. Okay, how we can make things better, how we can do things in a way that I feel better and more happier. So yeah, that's very vague answer, but that's how I go about things. It's very emotional and feeling type of based.
Yeah, I can totally relate. So, and people like us who are like more into this gut feeling kind of process, is that like when it ticks, or when you just see that you have to go for it, you're just going to go for it, and not trying just to to put like specific rule, like step 1 do this, step 2 do that, if you step 2A, step 2B, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
for
creative
for sure,
process
for sure.
the creative process is always a little bit messy. And for like I really wanted also to tackle a little bit the kind of the creative process that you're using, even though it's messy. We already talked about that a little bit before starting the recording, but I think that people could benefit from it. So how do we actually, some people will ask you, well, how do you come up with all these ideas? So can you just share a little bit how you're approaching this?
Sure, yeah. Um, well, there are, like, to break this process down in a very, very simple terms, it would be like I have my notes taking system where I just throw in everything, all the ideas I have. I walk by the day, I walk the dog, I notice this interesting thing, I maybe take a picture of it, maybe that will be an interesting metaphor later down the line. I don't know, I sit at my laptop, I don't feel like working, I might like, I don't want to feel work because whatever, I shot myself with loads of food previously, maybe that's an illustration later down the line. I will add that to my notes apps. I will listen to a podcast. It will be like, interesting insight. I will note down that insight or process or principle. Then I will listen to an audio book, and some sort of story maybe will remind me of an interesting story or will trigger interesting thoughts or ideas. I will note that as well. So what I'm trying to say here is really don't judge your ideas, and tune up your awareness a bit when you go about your day, and really drop in your notes app everything that you kind of feel, everything that makes you think or stop or pause, or just pretty much all those types of things go in. After this podcast recording, I'll maybe have like, that was interesting, I will maybe add it to the notes because it was whatever, something that was kind of interesting for me. And I think so that's the part one. Just take loads of notes. Sometimes it will be very clear visuals that I will like, because I have created quite a lot of them. I have a bit of experience. I'll have this, yeah, I could create this specific visual, and it will say that and this is the emotion we are trying to evoke, and I'll write that in my notes app, and it will be very clear concept. So it's just, yeah, taking loads of notes, and then when I sit down, when I want to make my visual, I just scroll through my notes, and I see again, okay, I feel like this today. I have some thoughts on this. Let's take this idea deeper and let's try to make it happen. And then it's of course a bunch of work, and more ideas will spark when you are working with something specific. But it's very nice when you have this big backlog of some ideas, pictures, thoughts, whatever you have collected. It's very hard to start from a blank page. You can hear the same advice for writers, and I think it's the same advice when you are trying to create visuals. You need to have this big backlog. So it's just two main parts. Just collect a lot of ideas, and when you sit down, you have this big backlog to work with, and you can take it further. You can maybe ask some follow-up questions to this, but that's like the core thing which is going on here.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So it's actually like a very simple process, and of course, then you can geek it out and fine tune it to your own needs. And when it comes to actually the creation part itself, like how do you approach it? Are you the kind of guy who just has the same routine every day? So, well, in the morning or in the afternoon, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create, and then like repeating the same process every day? Or are you kind of person who's like batching things, and like having, I'm just blocking out 2 days or 3 days of my week, and then I just go all in creating all the visuals and every material that I need for the week?
At this point, I'm pretty much, when I finish something, it's pretty much published. Like, unless I've noticed, it's nice to publish when like USA is up, So if I'll make something in the morning, it's probably I will publish it later that day. But most of my visuals which you see, they are made pretty much in the same day. I'm not batching anything right now, but I think I would like to do, because if you batch it, it kind of gives you space. As at this point, I wanna create more like a bit like blog posts, and create more like article type of stuff, or just maybe some yeah, kind of go more serious into newsletter, building a newsletter as well. And it's very nice when you have a space for that, because that takes way more time for me than creating visuals, because I've not used that much to like writing and creating more like a long form type of content. So that's the reason I think I would like probably to batch visuals, so I have more space to lean into that and kind of craft those skills. But at the moment, I'm mostly creating every day. It's mostly at around the same time. We kind of work from home with my wife, and like first part of the day is to one, and the like second part after the lunch is to the other, the second person, and we are kind of having our times more or less in a structured way, but not like super specific. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
And like roughly, like how long does it take you to create a visual? Let's say you're sitting down, you're scrolling through your note-taking app. Once you pick this idea, roughly how long does it take? Obviously, trying to find an average between on the good days and on the bad days.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's. I would say on average probably 1 hour, but taking into consideration like all these notes and all this brainstorming, because sometimes I will, in the morning I will maybe scroll through my notes. I'll see, this is an interesting topic. I wanna dig deeper into this, and then I maybe I will like walk my dog and kids, and in the back I will think about this concept. And when I sit down
Yes.
later that day, I maybe will create it in 15 minutes. Then it really depends on how complicated am I using, some simple bar charts or pie charts or something like that, or I'm creating some more complicated metaphor or analogy with some more drawings, which is more complicated, and then that takes a bit more time. So it depends on that type of scale, but usually it's around an hour. And at this time, when I'm really busy, I reuse a lot of my previous work. So I'll just grab something from months ago, and I'll just maybe improve it a bit design wise, or just improve the messaging a bit, or make it just a bit different. And those of course can take like 10-15 minutes sometimes, so it can be very quick. Of course, yeah, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the faster it will be. mm,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. And like if I can provide you with some nuggets of experience or wisdom or how you want to call it, is that on the one side, creating this like or having this kind of routine of creating daily is nice because it actually gives you this kind of habit of actually creating it and actually doing the things every day. On the other part is what I found is that like after doing the stuff that you have to do every day, you just run out of steam. And then the problem is that like you're really trying to experiment the batching kind of side, because once you are, let's say, because I know that you like mountain biking,
Hmm.
right? So once you are, let's say, going down the hill, I mean, you can continue an extra mile or 5 extra miles, because like you have like already this traction that's built in. But the problem is like if you're doing this every day, on the other side is like it's like you're just like pushing on the brakes, and then, well, then you have to get this traction again, and you're just doing it every
Mm.
day. And the problem is that it just eats up so much mental bandwidth. And let's say creating a newsletter or creating a video or creating whatsoever. So this is why I think at one time or another, I don't say like you have to go for batching or you have to go for it every day. um, I really think that it also depends on what stage of the business you are in. And at the beginning, maybe doing it daily, it's good because it helps you actually sharpen your practice.
Yeah.
But at one time, if you want to, let's say, sharpen your writing practice, well, then if you're doing visuals every day, you're going to have a hard time focusing on the two things. So this is actually like
Mm.
my intake after doing this for
you know
quite some time.
it's I think it's very true. And I think I must say, because we always, when we talk about things, we always look at our experience, and we think like, yeah, this is the way, this works really well for me. But
Mhm.
there are countless times in my life, and I believe this will be one of them, when I will go all in to batching, I will be like, holy shit, how come I didn't do this earlier? When I will
Mhm.
experience that, I believe it will be like a big mind shift, like, oh my God, I have so much like more time to do things and so on. So I definitely give a big plus to what you are saying, and I think I just need to get there. But yeah, I guess there's no immediate need, or I'm like procrastinating on that, or whatever. But I'll get there. But yeah, no pressure. But I think it's definitely a way to go. And actually, it reminds me another thing, which I believe a lot of creators who are aspiring creators listen to this. I think one, in terms of schedule, one very kind of bit extreme but very powerful thing that I did in my journey was, I always had this 9 to 5 job. At the time when I wanted to start to do this, I had my first kid, so the life was kind of busy. And one thing which I did was, I remember when we had our first child, we we like ended our like late night Netflix and beers or wine, and we kind of went to bed really early at around I think 9:30 almost or something, together with the kid. And I remember at that time I was listening to like Jocko Willing, and he is a crazy person, wakes up at like 4:30 every morning. And I tried that as well, and it really worked, and it was so fulfilling and so amazing to go to bed early. Of course, you get your 7-8 hours of sleep, but you wake up at 4:30, and before work, before going to work, before everyone else wakes up in your house, you like had 2 hours of creative work, and that was just amazing. My mind was sharp. I had zero desire to procrastinate. Now I work a bit like in the evenings because kids wake up quite early and it's a bit messy right now, and it's harder to kind of do a focused work. But in those mornings, it was just a bliss. It was amazing. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but to me it
Mhm.
was really amazing, especially with like 9 to 5 job and all other obligations, to have this big win in the very early in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, like others wake up and you have already done the work that you're supposed to do. So it also helps you, like, relieve the pressure and be able just to think about other things in the day that you can apply, like the next day, or like having more this kind of um, uh, 35,000 feet view and thinking, rather than being in the process and knowing that, well, I didn't do like what I was supposed to do, and then just carrying this around like the whole day, right? Having this in the back
Yeah,
of your
yeah,
mind.
exactly. Instead of like walking with a dread that day that, oh, I didn't do like any creative work, or I will do it in the evening, I will try to do it. You really walk with this pride and good feeling that I did my soul filling work, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it is especially that, like having this running in the back of your head, it actually prevents you on coming up with the next idea. So it's kind of um, like kind of a snake baiting its tail, bad habit, right? Like you're in the
Mm.
process and you're not doing the higher level thinking.
Yeah, that's actually very true, because yeah, if you have a plan for the day, it will be in your mind all the time, and it will be hard to come up with new ideas. But when you do the thing, it's easier to just free up space for some other stuff. That's a very good point, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing that I just wanted to add, when talking about doing stuff daily, it's like, is that kind of a crazy thing. Like, you have to find the sweet spot, because what happens is that it's good you build a habit, but at the same time, since you build a habit, it's hard to break it because it's already a habit. And I think that this is like the point where you are right now. So you want maybe to go into batching, but since creating daily is a habit, well, it's kind of hard to make the shift. So this is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's probably true. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe we can have another podcast in a year, and see if I will do batching then.
That's great, Yanis. So, any piece of wisdom do you want to add in order just to wrap up this podcast?
Well, I don't know. To creators, I can maybe share like the quote that I have used the most when in like kind of my journey, like one of my, when I feel down, when I want to feel a bit better and so on, I usually turn to this podcast, which is the Brendan Burchard Show. There's this guy Brendan Burchard, who's like kind of like Tony Robbins type of guy. And then yeah, some people might find him like too positive or cheesy, but I really love him. He have like nice short podcast episodes. He like, I don't know, it's very motivational and inspiring, and I love it. And one of his kind of quotes, pieces of wisdom, which I've heard and I loved, was that uh, believe in your abilities to figure things out. And what I really love about this is that, because you might want to be like an aspiring creator, and you're like, oh, I'm bad at YouTubing, I'm bad at podcasting, I'm bad at writing, I'm bad at this, I don't have any ideas, and you just say all these terrible things to yourself. And they might be true in some sense. You might be bad at YouTubing, you might be bad at speaking, at writing, or all those different things. But when I hear this quote, believe in your abilities to figure things out, and when you reflect to your maybe your own life, you probably have figured out things before that you didn't know before. Why not this? Just You don't need to lie to yourself and say, that you're a YouTuber or whatever, but just believe in your abilities to figure things out, and then you probably will come out of the other side. And it's a very healthy, I think, approach how to go about this. So that would be kind of my my wisdom, which have helped me, and maybe it will help somebody else.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you have a visual about this?
I don't.
You should.
Actually. I should, yeah. It's a tough one. Like, believe in your abilities to figure. I've not actually like sat down and really thought about this big, because it didn't come to me. But yeah, I probably should create something.
You have to record it into.
I actually know. I have a visual. I have a visual, and it went pretty viral on Twitter. It was like years ago, but the visual was just a speaking bubble where a person is saying, I believe in my abilities to figure things out, or something from these lines, basically the same message. And I remember it was that was the visual, like speaking bubble with this wisdom inside of it, like a person is saying that. And I think the tweet caption was like "unstoppable person" or something like that, and it went pretty viral. I remember. It's not like a visual; it's just a speaking bubble. But yeah, that's the simplicity of it, and people really resonated with this message. And I remember it went pretty viral.
Yeah. Then I think you have to hone in on that a little bit and see if you can turn this into something bigger. So,
for sure, there's definitely something better we can do with this fantastic quote.
Great, Janis. So, if people want to know more about you, where should they go?
Well, I think a nice place where to go is just bio.link/OZO, like bio.link/Ozo. And then usually I have some links to my Twitter, Instagram, like webpage and whatnot. There's also, like, if you're into trying this explain ideas visually type of thing, I have some helpful threads there which you can read. That's kind of explain a bit my process. And of course, if you want to take it seriously, there's my course as well. So you can check that out. It will lead to all good places.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Janis. And yeah, why not talk about batching maybe in 1 year's time?
Sounds good, Matt. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, so hope that you've enjoyed this episode with Janis Ozolins. I'm going to link to all of his work in the show notes. And if there is one important thing that you have to keep in mind, is that the creative process is always messy. So don't be too perfectionist. Don't try to get everything right the first time. Just start with something and then just iterate. And if the whole conversation and the whole episode actually resonated with you, why don't jump on my private email list? Because I'm going to share with you actionable tips and things that I've learned in the trenches after being a content creator for over a decade. So you're going to discover timeless principles that you are going to apply in your business to actually help you smoothen and make your content creation journey more fun and more profitable. So again, I'm going to link to everything in the show notes. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next episode.